Hello and welcome to today's episode of A Beer and a Tune. I am your host, JP Spencer. Well, as you could tell by the title card, we have a little bit of a curveball that I'm going to throw in occasionally with regard to alcoholic beverages and beer and my relationship to them. So, tonight I tackle the ongoing evil that is hard seltzer. Here's a good example of what my colleagues and what my friends and the people who know me very well think of me ordering a hard seltzer. So I have two favorite bartenders that often work my favorite bar at the same time of the week. This floor has two bars on the weekend. On the upper deck is my friend Lee and his tiki bar, and I go up there to shoot the breeze with him, have a couple of very exotic drinks while I watch muted episodes of Gilligan's Island on the TVs in either corner. And then when I've had enough of those, I go downstairs and I talk to one of my favorite bartenders, Mark Fisher, who is the bar manager at Red Bar in St. Francis. So one night I had a couple drinks that were pretty stiff upstairs because Lee uses some very exotic mixers and bourbons and brandies and all kinds of different alcohols in his tiki bar drinks. And so I didn't want to add too much to that, and it was probably a bad idea to add beer to it. So I went downstairs, and Mark, or Fish as we call him, was behind the bar, and I said, let me have a hard seltzer. To which he replied, "You feeling all right, man?" That pretty much sums up my relationship with hard seltzer. Now, I hear the argument made by people who drink hard seltzer, oh, but it's fewer calories. So I did a little bit of a comparison. I looked at caloric totals of beers. Now, I'm throwing out all of the nationally known beers because you don't want to drink that anyway. I was looking at the craft beers that are around here in Milwaukee and comparing the calorie content of those beers against the 100 or sometimes as high as 110 calories that you get in hard seltzer. And I have to ask, is 20 or 30 calories of difference really worth this? You know what I compare hard seltzer to? It's like sending somebody out to bring me a bag of M&Ms and they bring me a bag of Skittles. That's just sick and wrong. Don't mess with my chocolate. Don't mess with my enjoyment of a beer. So hard seltzer is to beer what Skittles are to M&Ms in JP world. Just don't give me hard seltzer. And I've lived through this kind of light alcohol fad many times in my life. I'll be 55 in about a month and a half. First, we had wine coolers in the 80s. Remember wine coolers? How many Bartles and James wine coolers are you drinking lately? Remember? Hello. Nobody's drinking Bartles and James wine coolers. Wine coolers died as quickly as the commercial for Bruce Willis singing about Seagram's golden wine coolers. Nobody drank it. Then in the 90s, we had the abomination that was Zima. I still don't know what Zima is. It was called a malt beverage. I doubt that. I have no idea what Zima is, and they even brought it back as part of the hard seltzer boom. That died a quick death. Now we're up to hard seltzer, the ongoing evil that is hard seltzer. And I have determined that the best way to describe hard seltzer is this way. A hard seltzer is a fad. And by fad, what I really mean is that is an acronym for fruity alcoholic disappointment. That is what you're going to get in every can of hard seltzer. Stop drinking this. But given all that, if you insist on drinking a hard seltzer, don't just go with national brands. I'm very happy to announce that many of the microbreweries in the Milwaukee area do make their own hard seltzers. If you have to get a hard seltzer, if you have to go with that fruity alcoholic disappointment, that is the fad, that is hard seltzer, consider buying a few from your local microbrewery. Perhaps they can put a twist on it that is a little different from the national canned brands that you see in your typical bar, and you know what those canned brands are. And all they're going to give you is an upset stomach and disappointment. So with that, that is my occasional rant about hard seltzer. Next week we'll be back with a very special story about a very special brewery here in Milwaukee. But right now, it is time for tonight's tune. So for tonight's tune, since I mentioned an old drink earlier, I thought I'd bring forward an old song. This song is the oldest song in my catalog that is listenable. It's now 31 years old. If this song were a human, it would be considering turning in its cool card and buying its first minivan. Thankfully, it's just a song, and I still don't own a minivan. This song is called Interior. I also have a song called Exterior that has a very similar chord progression, so I decided to name them Interior and Exterior. This is the interior portion of that song cycle, as it were. It's called Salt Town, and it's a song about how I spent 17 days living unsuccessfully with somebody who thought she was telekinetic but was actually a hypochondriac. Haven't seen her since. That disabled kid is playing ball with himself again. He just hit another home run in his head again. And he waves at me when he sees me walk. That twisted smile of his can barely even talk. And after a while, he'll just go inside and face them all. Or maybe think, or maybe not. It's just another day in Salt Town. And there's the odd chick with the silver balls and the movie book, listening to some long gone, long dead punk band. Thrift shop tapestries around the room, and purple walls for that special touch of blue. And as another man in waiting wanders out, she settles in, while every ounce of her heart wants to run away from Salt Town. Watch as I pack my life into an old car and shake their heads, 'cause nobody ever tried to get this far. And a young girl smokes a cigarette. Touchdown number 10 today for that kid. Down and out, Charlie looks like up and dead from where I've been and where I go. I don't know, but won't let it be. Another Salt Town, another Salt Town. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time on A Beer and a Tune.